All right, our third transformation is reflections. And reflections is pretty much means you're flipping the graph. You can flip it over the x-axis or you can flip it over the y-axis. So those are our two transformations, reflection over x or reflection over y. So for the equation, just like before, we're starting with our parent function, y equals x squared. These ones are pretty easy because there's no numbers involved. It's just a flip. So you're not moving it up 2 or right 7. It's just a flip. So if you want to show you are flipping it or reflecting it over the x-axis, all you have to do is put a negative sign. I'm going to make this nice and big and highlight it. You're going to put the negative sign out front, and that's it. This negative sign means everything's getting flipped upside down. And so let's find this picture so you can actually see what I'm talking about. So if you go down to slide 19 again, what this looks like is right here, this third graph on the top row. Notice how you start with your parent function and the whole graph, the blue graph, is just flipped upside down. And that negative sign just turns everything negative. It gets flipped upside down. So we're going to copy this picture and go ahead and put it in our graph spot, but that is what it looks like to be reflected over the x-axis, okay? Now, to reflect over the y-axis is a little weird, but again, we're still going to start with our parent function. Now, this one is kind of like our horizontal. We're going to put parentheses around it, and it's still just a negative sign, but the negative sign is inside parentheses. That's the only difference, and it is a pretty big difference, so it's inside parentheses. So if you want to write yourself a little note, you could say that the x-axis has no parentheses. And also want to make this a little smaller. So x-axis has no parentheses, and the y-axis has parentheses. So I would go ahead and write that little note in so that you know the difference, because they're really just negative signs, but one's inside and one's outside. Now, let's find the picture for the y-axis. And again, this one's a little weird and you don't see it a lot because it's this graph down here. It's right below the one we just copied. And so you see it's still being flipped, but it's being flipped over the y-axis, so it ends up looking exactly the same, right? If you flip it, it's going to look exactly the same because both sides are even and like they look the exact same. So we don't see this one really because it ends up looking the same, but we're going to copy it and go ahead and